Greetings! Welcome to the devlog for Alpha 5 of Update 76 of Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades. We're going to start, as always, with a quick sound check. Make sure your speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful. So what have we got for you this week? Well, as you can tell, we are still in the alpha for this update, and part of the reason for that is that a number of the things that I added or tweaked last week aren't quite where they need to be, and including I mucked up the virtual stock. Something fierce, so that has been reverted. But along the way, as I continue to bug fix and tweak some things, we've got some special stuff for you this week, including, finally, an addition I know that has been being waited for by our Meat Fortress contingent, which we're going to start off today. That's right, we finally have the Medigun, a special version of the Medigun. It has been modified by PieSavvy, the TF2 community creator, who has been responsible for helping me out on a number of things for this. In that we don't really have universally usable backpacks, and I didn't want to deal with the sort of cable running from the gun to the backpack that the real Medic uses, and so we have this modified, really, if you think about it, bullpup configuration of the Medigun with a portable power unit, which also conveniently ends up being a gauge for us to see our Ubercharge charge up. So let's take a look at this, and to help us see the effectiveness of this, we're actually we need to spawn ourselves some damage dealing devices so that we can actually see how well things handle. Yeah, let's this will be easy to use one-handed as well. It does a whole bunch more damage, especially for headshots. Wonderful. So let's spawn ourselves some disabled bots. So something to be aware of first with the way that this works is that this item actually does color change based on teams. Look at them dance. In that when you spawn this in this scene, I just have this temporarily changed to this will actually be green, and what green signifies is universal, meaning that the device can heal a SOSIG on any team. When it's red, it can only heal red ones. When it's blue, it can only heal blue ones. So how do we use this? Well, we just grab the handle, we point it at a SOSIG, and drag that handle forward. We got our cool little particle beam here, which in and of itself is quite fun to play with. The effect isn't identical to the source game, and part of the reason for that is that the way the TF2 draws its beam is possibly the most intense overdraw spamming of particles I have ever seen. So not very efficient. Oop, looks like we're charged up. We can see our gauge is fully charged up, and we just pull the trigger to activate it. And we can see that we both have these particles. This is telling us that the regeneration and invulnerability power is active on us. So if we had taken a bunch of damage, which I'll do now, don't do this at home, kids. Cool, we're at 3,300. When this charges back up, we will see what it does to us. So, as you can see, he takes damage there. Not dead though, because we're healing him. And then if we activate this, we start recharging. And our friendly sniper there is quite invulnerable. We can actually drop this back into our quick belt slot. Now, if we break line of sight with a piece of environment, we'll lose the beam, and so we have to deactivate it and reactivate it. This will essentially latch onto the angularly closest SOSIG within about 10 meters. Let's see. Yeah. Yep, he's out of range. And obviously if there's nothing in range, we'll just get that sound. So once again, let's see the difference here. In fact, we've got two snipers, so we can compare this. If we start here with a pistol, so sorry for this, mate. 4 or 5 shots, and he is down. Now, one of the things that happens with this is that you're not just getting a heal, you're not just getting a slight overheal, but there's a bunch of damage resistance given to the SOSIG, in part because all the weapons in H3 are doing a way larger percentage of total SOSIG's health than all of the weapons in TF2 do, except for maybe the sniper rifle. So I had to actually make this more effective to make it useful. But now, so he'll still drop from that pain. But as you can see, he's not bleeding out because this is just filling him with more mustard.
Keep moving.
But it can still be overpowered with more powerful weapons. Oh, did that still not put him down? I think too many of those might have hit the hat. Either that or the SMG just does not cause enough base damage. You might have to pull out something more powerful. Sorry about this, mate. Nope, I think the damage resist is actually keeping him going. We're going to have to pull out... Let's actually see. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this on Alpha, because I do want to know if you folks think the healing effect is too powerful when it's active. I want it to be the sort of thing where it's really viable for you to run around primarily healing and adding a bit of damage without making them completely invincible. So let's see here. Actually, I haven't actually tested it with this. So let's see if being healed actually protects you from this. You're all seeing the results of this test for the first time along with me here. So he's healed. Let's do a body shot first.
Watch yourself.
Didn't even stagger him. Wow. Cool. And then headshot. Okay, so he goes down, bleeds, and gets back up. Let's see if 2 as fast as we can do it. Oh, yep, the second one. Yeah, the second one does what it's supposed to. So yes, this feels about right in regards to the sniper rifle. Latch onto him. Let's do another. Pop the Uber. Perfect. Wonderful. Oh, and importantly, so line of sight can break this to the environment as well as range. I've given it more leeway than the actual device. In TF2, you can actually go, I think, about 20 meters before you lose the connection, though you have to be within 10 to start the connection, and that's just to give you, oh, yep, that was about the limit. And so yeah, so that's just to give you a little more freedom locomotion-wise, especially for like teleport players who might be moving very, very rapidly, 3 or 4 meters at a time. I want to make it a little more difficult to accidentally break the connection. So, Medic mains, give it a shot in the Meat Fortress scene. Let me know what you think. I'm totally open to continuing to tweak it and making it what is most fun to use, especially because this doesn't have any sort of real-world referent as a firearm, and so I'm significantly more inclined to tune it specifically to the felt balance of the Meat Fortress mode. So cool, now that we have taken a look at that, let us dump this equipment out and take a look at another really important change that I've spent a whole bunch of time on. This, I have, this probably, well, other than LMGs, has been one of the classes of weapon that I've spent the most time on and been the most frustrated with. And that is lever actions. And the reason for that is that I seem to be unable to create a control scheme that everyone likes for these. And so I'm going to actually open up my options panel here to show my controller geometry and talk about what I hope is the final change for this class of weapon. So when I initially designed these, I built these around the idea that you would rotate the controller to rack a lever action. It was a sort of a fun interaction, and it turns out, while fairly easy to do with a Vive wand because of the way you can rotate them in the hand, stinks to do on the Rift and on the Index controllers. And so what I have attempted to do, and I've had a lot of folks who shoot lever guns talk about how the motion that they end up making with their hands is significantly more a straight forward and back one and not really a rotation. But I still wanted to maintain, for those who liked the sort of rotation oriented motion, I wanted to try to make something that's the best of all worlds. And I think I've come up with that. Basically, the idea here is, and that's why I have my controllers visible, is that when the breech is not locked shut, you move the hands closer to each other, and that opens the breech, and then pull them back shut. Note how this is slightly different from a pump action in that your pose of your hand also is shifting on the primary grip as you're doing this. There's also a little bit of friction to opening the action, so you don't accidentally get that like flickering of it. So if I move really slowly, you'll notice that didn't open the action. It needs a little force to it to open. Now note, if you like rotating, because this is based on palm position, you can still do that. So yeah, so let's open that up, take our hand off, throw these in, and take a look at what this looks like aiming down sights.
You jerk. Delightful.
Man, not hitting anything. Whack. So as I said before, we can still do it the rotation style. Like, oh, I think we already opened it and shut it. Like that, or a straight linear motion, etc. Here, let's actually take a look at what one of these looks like with a stock, and we'll actually take this opportunity to take a look at one little other thing I added. It was requested that with the axis tilt rail adapter piece that gives us a 90-degree offset mount from the primary to make a double-sided version of it for those of you who like to make symmetrical constructs. So you can now do that. So if you totally want to pop on with a single piece, of course it's not perfectly, it's not perfect. I'm too lazy to make it perfect. Load this here, and I think we're loaded. So let's take a look at what this looks like down sights. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hide the controllers again. Wonderful. So yeah, so of course this means that you can fire lever action guns faster than bolt action guns, reliably now, which is kind of how it was always supposed to be, if you think about it. Wonderful. So give that control scheme a shot. As always, let me know what you think, and let's go ahead and jump out of VR now and talk about the other little tweaks and fixes that are in this week's alpha. Yo! So we're out of VR now, so let's quickly look at the list of the other things that were tweaked and changed for this week's alpha. In addition to those new items I showed you, there's now suppressor mounts on the Seiko 85 and Seiko 85 Obrez. Sorry it took me so long to get those in there. I added a trash can, or Destructibin as they're called, those of you who watch my stream would know that, to the Meat Fortress scene. I have tweaked the dual stage trigger thresholds on the P90 and the AUG to put a little more space between them to make it easy to initiate them separately. If you don't know what I'm talking about, basically for both for the P90 in its full auto form and the AUG in its just its firing state, what happens is that the trigger, and this works this way in real life, if you partially pull it to about here, you get a first break where a single shot fires, then it doesn't continue to cycle. But if you pull the trigger the rest of the way, it will then jump into full auto and continue firing. In real life, you might be like, that doesn't sound like that would be that great in real life. And having fired both of them in full auto, I can agree. I don't think I think it's a very, very user-friendly thing, especially because it ends up taking so much effort to get that full auto engagement on the real-life P90. They end up flinching with the platform and going off target. So, but I'm just replicating the way it works in real life. Sorry this took me so long, but the wrist menu now has a confirmation step for reload scene, return to main menu, and quit application. So there should no longer be cases where you single click, accidentally hit one of those, and like, I was in the middle of a take and hold run. So you have to do that twice in a row for that to happen. So that should hopefully drop the frequency of that. I have paused what's called the tick down to clear timer for SOSIGs when you're currently holding any of their links. So in a mode like take and hold, where you end up killing a SOSIG, 5 seconds later it basically just explodes and disappears. If you're still holding on to it, that timer won't tick down. Now that doesn't mean there isn't an event that will still clear it, like when you actually initiate a hold and that wave goes out, that will delete all SOSIGs no matter what. So it won't stop the deletion, but it stops the time-based auto clear so that you can have sort of like meat shield moments with them that are more enjoyable. So hopefully that doesn't introduce any new bugs in the game logic, and if it does, let me know. I slightly reduced the SOSIG AA12 cyclic rate. They are still meant to be brutally difficult to fight, but in doing a little testing, I was like, you know what, that does fire maybe a little too fast. So hopefully that should move the needle a little bit for some of you folk. In addition to fixing the syringes from the syringe gun, which I had broken in the alpha, I have buffed them a little bit, in part from the testing I was doing as playing Medic in Meat Fortress. If you just want to run entirely with the Medic's equipment, especially because it's such a short-range weapon and it has a challenging arc, I wanted to actually make it so that when you do hit, it's a little more effective. So it's gotten like a 65% damage buff or so. Cool. And then just some assorted fixes. The Meat Fortress Shotguns 4 should be fixed. The Sturm Grenade no longer disappears when you go to grab it out of its chamber. I fixed the throwing star and pencil, and some stuff that was not properly placed or in the item spawner at all that was supposed to be is now in there. So wonderful. So yeah, this should, as I said, this should hopefully be the final alpha, and then we'll go full release. In terms of Meat Fortress stuff, I had wanted to get as far into actually also making the medic SOSIGs that exist do some sort of healing, probably in some sort of bubble buff form, but I didn't get to that because just making this Medigun work at all was so hard and so time consuming. It turns out when you want to add a healing device that works in a team-based game format to a game that doesn't really have a complex team abstraction nor any healing devices, that ends up being a lot of work. Plus, it's a surprising amount of simulation. Huge shout out, by the way, to Cinecat for making the sweet visual effect beam and for making it run as fast as it does. I should hopefully be able to actually use a slightly decimated version of that effect on the actual medic SOSIGs without it becoming too onerous. So hopefully that will work. But let me know what you think about that, and there'll be a drip feed of some more Meat Fortress goodies over the next month or so as well, including I think folks have mentioned, like especially now that we have the Jiggle Bone system, I think I'm gonna actually give the Balisong a complete redo. I'm going to try to get it feeling better and actually using some of the sort of physics code that are in the Jiggle Bones to try to get the inertia on it feeling significantly more, better. So that needs a second go at that. I only hit that about 60% the first shot. So, but I think I can get it feeling great if I give it another try. So yeah, anywho, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if I broke anything. As I said, this is for real Zors. the release candidate. So as long as there isn't a major issue with a system in this, this is pretty much the state of things, is going to be what update 76 is. So in terms of, and those of you who tend to look for bugs and things like that, if you could primarily focus on big things, you know, there's always stuff to work on with this game. There's always stuff that could be use improvement. I just want to make sure that there are not core modes and things like that. Oh, and I do not yet have taken hold recognizing the underbarrel launchers yet. That will go in this week. So, but that shall be ready for our full release. Anywho, enough rambling from me. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.